Welcome to Oregon Voters Digest, the program that brings forward the social and political issues that are important to people living here in the Pacific Northwest. And now, your host, Bruce Broussard.
I'm Bruce Broussard. As you can see, folks, we're on the iPod. Well, we got a podcast at this point in time. As I've indicated on my Facebook, I said that we're going to now basically be doing this live broadcast here at my home. As you know, the studio is closed, but at the same time, this is a very important period that we're having here within the city of Portland, within our country for that matter. And so we wanted to make sure we are part and parcel of the whole issue of the communication field, okay, here at the Oregon Voters Digest. What I'm going to do, again, like I said, we're going to do this first time around. I'm going to spend about 30 minutes just sort of sharing with you just what we got. And this is the first. This is the first. What we got here and how we're going to basically communicate to you. And we're going to be inviting guests. We're going to be inviting guests. And as you can see, backdrop, I got one of my lawn signs in the back of me, and hopefully that's what we'll do with the guests. We'll have their lawn signs in the back, and if you notice, I've still got my cover on, i.e. the Vietnam vet aspect of it, and I think that's a very important piece. But again, like I said, what we're going to do is a podcast. It's called Zoom. That's the program that we're using, and almost just like what you're familiar with today. I've been doing a lot of media news watching aspect of it, and I tell you, very interesting concept, and people are really just getting better and better and better with it. But again, the visuals are very, very important. Those individuals who can't make it, because like I said, these individuals, whoever we have on as guests, they will either have the same equipment that I have. They become part of the guests that way, just like you've seen in the real time on TV. Same concept, okay? And then we'll just go on and go from there. But like I said, again, the campaign is going now. As I indicated on Facebook the other day, the campaign begins. We're going to be talking about issues. We're going to be talking about issues that are impacting more specifically the state of Oregon, more specifically Portland, Oregon, because in fact, I'm just going all over the ring right now, but I'm sharing these thoughts with you, so bear with me. But the thing is, we're gonna talk about national news. As you know, the coronavirus is here, it's with us. All kinds of comments are being made about this whole issue. I'll give you a for instance. And again, that will be a discussion that we'll be discussing. For instance, is that the whole idea is that we are suffering with this whole issue of the coronavirus piece aspect of it, and the testing was a major piece, a major focus, if you will, by the health and scientific community, and that's basically through the WHO, the World Health Organization. That's basically where all your doctors are, and this, that, and the other. When you start thinking about vaccines and medications and this, that, and the other, and the definition of the coronavirus and its impact and its what's the rationale for it, et cetera, et cetera. And then the other side, in all due respect, the other side basically talks about, hey, look, now that we've got this quarantine of the entire country, that's basically that approach of like I said, this whole issue of quarantine. That's a heavy piece aspect. That really is heavy. That's basically saying, okay, fine, you're going to close up all shop. I need not tell you because some of you are already aware as to the impact it is having on our lives, on your life, the whole 9 yards for the kids, especially. Schools are cut down in some cases, and so it goes on and on. And then there's the politics of it. I can go on and on and on in that piece. But what I'm going to do is that you'll see that I will be sharing with you my exposure as I look at all these other media pieces and whatever, both from a national standpoint and also from a state standpoint. As you know, we've got Governor Kate Brown is our governor here in Oregon, and we're very much interested in her feedback in terms of what is on the table with the governor's office. Because in all due respect, every state in the union every state in the union is pretty well citing the fact that we We got 50 states in the union. There's 50 governors out there, and the format that's being laid by the federal government, which is led naturally by our president, uh, President Donald Trump, who's basically said, okay, fine, we're going to be here to back you up and respond to your needs based on where you're living, based on what state you represent. And he's basically saying that to the governors. He's saying that to the governors that is their task, is their job to basically go in and make whatever changes or whatever, try to better the situation and whatever that means. Testing, that means whatever, opening up certain facilities, because we're a large state here in Oregon, and some of the areas in Oregon are somewhat desolate, if you will, maybe not as highly populated like here, the largest city in the state, which is the city of Portland, Oregon. And then you got two different areas there, an aspect of it. Then you got the mile situation and whatever. Like I saw the governor today, and she was sort of like sharing with some of the local medias over here in Portland about sort of giving an update in terms of where she was and whatever. And I thought that was interesting. But those are the kind of things we're going to be doing. There's going to be candid shots, whatever. There'll probably be folks. Don't worry about that buzz. That's another media outlet, a local Facebook person that sort of hit me here on the screen, and I'll be looking at that. And if I see some familiar faces and whatever, I'll remind him of that. Like Big Bob Williams, he's always texting me all over the place. And other for Harold Williams, all these guys that I know, and women, Berna Plummer, and folks like that. That's some very interesting folks. I've got quite an array of folks who like to chat about this whole business, about what we're going through. But anyway, again, like I said at the beginning, it's a start. We're going to probably perfect ourselves as we go along here. But the whole idea is to get the information out to you. Some of this material I'll probably read off to you, and then we'll get into that discussion aspect of it. And then the idea is, how do you get your feedback? Well, your feedback will be gotten from the standpoint, and I want you to understand where I'm coming from. If you got access to Zoom, and it's understanding that Zoom is almost like a texting situation, right? If you got the right equipment, you can actually join me as a guest. But if you don't, you'll probably get it. You'll get the recording, and you'll have the opportunity to look at it on other mediums like Facebook and YouTube, entities across the board. And then the other thing I want to share with you is that, because a lot of you are already familiar with the fact that you look at the show, which is on Open Signal, local community cable aspect of it on cable. You've seen the show on cable, Oregon Voter Digest. Well, you're going to be it's going to be on the same time frame on that end of it. But at the same time, you're going to get more opportunity to see more of the show, because we're going to do the show sort of like, depending upon the guests, will be normally 30 minutes at a time. 30 minutes, more than enough time to really get the points across. We're going to stick with the points. We're going to talk about issues that are relevant today. We're going to keep up with the national scene, and we're going to keep up with the state scene, and we're going to keep up with the city scene. And it's a very unique situation. And then just coming right down to Portland, in the Portland metropolitan area, as you note, we've got a number of folks. The action, in all due respect, is with the city of Portland. We've got 19 people running for mayor of the city of Portland. And it just so happened that one of the 19 people happens to be one of the incumbent, which happens to be the sitting mayor, Ted Wheeler. And he was the one that ran the first time. There were about 19 or so folks at that point in time. So it's a very interesting thing, and it's a very serious situation, because if 19 people or 18 people, if 18 people are having problems sitting mayor, then hey, he's part of that discussion, and so we're going to be examining his issues and what he's doing, and hopefully, and we're going to try to encourage him, because this is the largest city in the state of Oregon. People want to know what's going on, and we sit right in the middle of an access or a travel bound, which is I-5, and it goes right through the city of Portland. We've got the state of California on one side, and we got the state of Washington on the other side. We got we've got some major issues here. And so, and we're going to be digging right up into all the good stuff. For instance, like what happened to the homeless? They're trying to figure out what are we going to do with the homeless as a result of this coronavirus. I still think people really don't know what's going on or a solution to the problem. Because the solution, in all due respect, as I see it, the solution is the vaccine. Once they discovered the vaccine, the cure, once they discover the cure, then a lot of things will be solved. Even things, anxieties and things of that nature. People sort of breathing, whatever. But and I'm gonna throw something out there. Again, you'll understand where I'm coming from the standpoint that we've got a lot to discuss. a lot of people are being asked to be tested. Okay. Once you're tested, then what? Then they say, well, D, we're going to have to find out, well, who are you meeting with? Or who are you by? And then, okay, fine. Well, where is the person? Oh, that was my cousin who visited us. And now they're going back to Texas. Oh, what are they going to do? They have to check that out. And then after that, then who did the cousin visit? They're going to be checked in. My point is that they're going to go through that long line. And after they've gone through and maybe have identified these folks, what are they going to do? They're going to quarantine them. And then if they go back to their home, then they've got people living with them, whether it be a family, they've got kids and this, that, and the other, then they get tested. So we're still kind of like in the what we're going to be doing with this situation at this point in time. And we're going to have to all work this thing out all together because we're in this thing all together. So it's not a partisan kind of a view or whatever. Any discussions that we have on any issues should not be taken that way because when we get into partisan, then we get into politics. And we're not solving anything when we get into the politics of it all. We need to keep that in mind. Really, we're just not solving anything because then people play games with that. Then it becomes personal, and then the media then becomes personal, and then we the citizens, the people, are not being looked upon from the standpoint of solving that position. The solutions are things like what happened to my job? I mean, where do I go? I mean, how do I pay my bills? We got a lot of problems right here. I mean, am I liable if I do this and why I do that? When do I go to the store? Where do I get the masses from? The paraphernalia that I need. I'm a small businessman. Well, you're hearing this stuff about small business. That's still in its infant stage. But the one thing I will say about this country, we're reacting. We may have a printing press just printing out the dollars, but we at least have a printing press. In the past, I'm somewhat familiar with the fact that we never had a printing press, but we got one now. But the fact of the matter is, I think we're going to get this thing resolved. It's just going to be a matter of time, and that, like I said before, when I started out with the deal, two entities. One that's got to come up with the vaccine, and the other entity is that, hey, look here, this whole issue, this whole piece of just basically quarantining the entire your entire presence, your entire environment. That's a toughie. That can't last long. So the fight is on. The fight is on. The war is on. Whatever you want to call it. But the fact of that is, we got to come up with some solutions like abruptly, quickly, right away. People are dying around us, and people are anticipating dying. People are filing and trying to find food, lining up for food, no money. I mean, it's going to be crazy. Right now, it's not too bad, and thank goodness we still have an entity. And again, like I said, this is not so-called partisan politics. We've got a system here in this country. Okay, we got one president, we got 50 governors. I mean, we got a chain of command situation, and that all has to work. All has to work. So let's make sure we keep that in mind. No politics. It's not politics. Remember, we started out the politics and the issue of politics. We called it the swamp. We called it the swamp. We was going to clean out Congress. We're going to clean that whole business out. We're going to clean the media and Congress, people who have been there for years and years and years, and in a lot of times not even trying to respond to some of the issues and the main issues in their respective in their respective area that they're from. You know, we got the politicians are going to have to be more responsible, if you will, and that's why the election process is a tight situation. So, consequently, you got to bear with me. Like I said, this is just kind of like I said, it's an introductory piece. I want to make sure we get the frame, the picture. We got the producer on the other end. You don't see that producer right now. He's sitting up there just taking it easy. You know, he's just taking a laugh at me from the standpoint of saying, keeping Bruce, hold him down, and all this other good stuff. But anyway, I mean, we can smile and we're gonna laugh at times. We're gonna have a good time. But the whole idea is that we're gonna really get into the seriousness of where it is. But but at the same time, I want you to be somewhat relaxed because this thing can really drag you down. You know, this is a really serious thing because you got to start thinking about what happens when I get up in the morning. I'm not on the job. Where do I go? Okay, where's my food? How do I pay my bills? I've got kids that are not in school now. They're at home. How am I going to keep them active? How do I feed them? I got animals. I got the front yard. I'm living in an apartment. I'm not living in an apartment. I'm homeless. I'm living in a tent. Where do I go? We've got a city that needs to be clean. That's another good area that I think that I'd like to be I'm very interested in. That is, we have the time now to clean our city. We can sanitize. I've seen a lot of shows where they're constantly talking about and showing people cleaning washing the streets down and washing the walls and things of that nature. Well, in all due respect, that's what we need to do. That would be one of my recommendations. If I put in my mayor's hat for a moment or whatever. I want to clean this city up. I want to clean Portland, Oregon up. Now's the time to pick up all the trash, to sanitize the city of Portland. And we can put that together. We got good businesses. I used to work at a hauling company. I used to work for USA Waste. And then all of a sudden became a waste management and others. And I was in the recycling aspect of it. We can put together a team. We definitely can put together a team. Clean up this city. Clean it up and sanitize it. At the same time, the same thing with the whole issue with reference to our home. We're all in our homes now. We're being confined to our houses. I think the first thing that should have been told when they said, well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to close things down. You're going to be going home. Go home for what? Well, guess what? Here's your package. We're going to give you a basic packet. Yeah, on the mic, it was Mike. I said, let's come on, give them with a basic packet and have the sanitization kit, if you will, a kit with masks and things of that nature and any kind of a soap or whatever and a package deal and then some kind of an idea of saying, okay, fine, when you get with this material you will use to wash down the walls and clean up and where to clean up and if you got any, excuse the French, if you got any small animals, they call them mice or whatever, you got some things that this is when you do this, this is when you do this, and just clean it up. And talking about washing your hand and putting your mask on, and when you leave and when you go from that area, and maybe working with your neighbor, maybe putting together a so-called sanitization group. We used to have the crime watch deal where people walk the street in the evening or the afternoon or something like that, and to make sure that we were living in a safe kind of environment. We could do the same thing with this whole issue of this to counter this whole issue with the coronavirus thing. Why not? Why not do a sanitization kind of a deal? We have the material, and then you go to your neighbor's house, and the neighbor will come to your house and start cleaning it up and sanitize it. And maybe we can have a situation where you organize yourself in such a way that the person said, okay, fine, and then someone will come by and check it and put a check mark on your house and say, hey, this house is sanitized. They responded to it. Now, the whole idea also, too, is that if, in fact, they have to quarantine someone in that house, then that needs to be noted. That needs to be noted. If the person can come out or should come out, if the person can still stay there, and at the same time, but they're just being sort of like they're required to maintain themselves there. Should it be in a room or should it not be in a room? If you got other families and whatever, All those things need to be discussed now. And hopefully, and as far as I'm concerned, those are some of the things that I would bring to the table. I got some, as far as I'm concerned, I got some brilliant ideas. But then but again, at the same time, we got 18 more people. 18, but we got 19 in total. These people all filed to run for office. And we've got just many folks running for city council in many ways. And as far as I'm concerned, if they filed to run for office, they've got an idea. Give them the opportunity to talk about their ideas. That's the needle in the haystack. They may have some good deal, and by getting them involved in the process, that means that whole base of folks that they represent, they all of a sudden will speak up for them and get them involved. But don't just set them aside talking about budget matters or how many quidgets you got over here at the Water Bureau and this, that, and the other. Hey, that's not the case. That's not where we are right now. Ask them for something specifically. And that's another thing that I plan to do. I plan to interview every mayoral candidate that's running for office. And I'm going to ask them that question. What do you think about the coronavirus situation? How do you respond to it specifically? And what a solution? Every one of them. Why not? Okay? Because we got until about the 19th of May, and we're right in the midst of the primary. Give them the opportunity to speak to that. I've run for office on a number of occasions. And one of the problems that I've found whenever I interview, if you will, whether it be to newspapers or TV or radio, this, that, and the other, normally the person who's interviewing me, have no background. They've never been there. They don't have a resume, which is something that as far as I'm concerned, that's one thing I want to change. When I'm mayor, I wanted to make sure we want to change those guidelines. When a person comes in to file to run for office, they should show their resume. That resume should be available readily. Not just a website, but that resume. What have you done? And what do you bring to the table to solve the issues? And the issues are going to be laid out specifically. They may be 3, 4, or 5 issues. That's all you need, 3 or 4 issues. And then that would be the response. I mean, I can really get into that deal because I've been thinking about that for quite some time. My point is that we've got to change some of our ways of doing certain things. But you got to give the people the opportunity, the people who have filed to run for office, the opportunity to share with you what's on their mind. And we're not being fair about making sure we do that. We're playing personality game. Maybe race. That's how we get in the whole issue of race and sexuality and all kinds of weird things that doesn't help our plight. I'm thinking about all the folks that have been registered, if not that, are out there buying firearms. I've been in the Corps and others. I understand what a weapon is all about. I was there. I spent my tour in Vietnam. I understand the problems on that end of it. But the fact of the matter is, why are people buying weapons? They're saying to protect themselves. True, but we can solve that problem. Let's talk about that. Let's be neighborly. Let's get involved. But anyway, those are the kinds of things we're going to talk. We're going to keep it real. We're going to keep it simple. Remember the old adage, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Because we want people to recognize and understand it. We're not talking about PhDs and this, that, and the other. We're talking about the little guy, or the small family, or the person who basically is just getting out of the institution, maybe out of jail. If you want to just call it jail or whatever, they've got to have an opportunity to come back and assimilate back into our society. All of us, for that matter. We got to start respecting one another. We can't afford to be divided in a race standpoint. We got issues with reference to the so-called illegal situation. Some say 11, 20 million people are here illegal. So what do we do with those folks? I mean, someone has been talking right now, been talking about, well, California, I guess, and the governor of California said, well, what I'm going to do, we need to give them some checks too. Well, the first check that's got to be had of people who here who are registered Americans. We got to make sure we take care of them first. Now, I'm not saying to ignore these folks, because in all due respect, greed was the one that allowed that whole illegality thing to persist anyway. It can be solved, but we got to be honest with one another. We got to work together. This is America. It is the biggest, it is the largest country. I mean, it is the most beneficial. Well, I can go on and on and on that piece of the aspect of it. But the fact of the matter is, giving you some insight in terms of what I'm going to be sharing with you, and hopefully you'll understand where I'm coming from. Nothing's changed. The Voters Digest is the Voters Digest. I'm just one of the entities. These are my viewpoints and some opinions and whatever. But really, we're all creatures of our exposure. We are all about. Some graduate, some don't graduate. Some's a janitor, some's a professor, but we're all creatures of our exposure. Let's not be selfish. We don't have to be selfish about saying, well, I'm better than you because I've got a PhD and you don't have anything. In fact, we're all dependent upon one another in some way, shape, or form. So we're going to have to work together. With this coronavirus thing, hey, there's some good stuff. I mean, I've been seeing some interesting stuff on Facebook. On Facebook. I mean, I've learned a lot. I mean, it's like an education in itself. You got to look at it that way. And the other thing is that you can respond to it. You can respond and throw your ideas out there. Or you can say, hey, look, I want to feel happy today. Well, someone's always making some things, some gestures about how positive things are. There's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to be negative on it. Just take it and and enjoy it. And then the WHO, what was the World Health Organization? When I started looking in that, I said, you got to be kidding me. If you got all the doctors that are sitting up at the WHO, we shouldn't have a problem with the vaccine. That should have been taken care of. I've even seen media people who were in movies. they're on TV trying to be a host, representing the health issues aspect of it. And they have no idea where it's at. Well, I'll tell you where the idea is. Who is going to own the patent of the vaccine? Ever thought about that? Who's going to own the patent of the vaccine? Okay, well, you know what my thought is? Hey, we're doing almost like eminent domain. Sometimes you got a piece of real estate and you're trying to, you got a piece of real estate and they come to you and say, hey, look, this is going to better our way of life here, and we're going to basically take your property. We're going to give you a fair price for it. Boom, it's gone. Well, I think we ought to do the same thing with that vaccine. I don't think no private entity should own the patent of this new vaccine to counter this virus. Now, this is just my feeling, because as I look at some of the stuff that's being presented, you've got all kinds of people that are trying to win that race to get that patent so they can make that money. So anyway, there's a lot of things that we can talk and we can really put it together. Got about a couple more minutes. Like I said, I'm just going to take about 30 minutes because that's exactly what we're going to do with any of the candidates or any discussion we're going to have. But this is just an introduction. So please tell everybody, text it out, share it with everybody, and say, hey, just going on there to Oregon Voters Digest on Open Signal, Channel 11 on Sunday at 4 o'clock, 4 to 5. You can also catch it on YouTube too. And I'm sure the producer, the guy that's sitting up there looking at me right now, he's going to find out some other streaming method. But we're going to get the word out to you. We're going to try to interview everybody and anybody. I mean, from the top on down. In fact, I'm basically saying, even hopefully to the mayor and to the governor and anybody, I'm going to try to get them to talk. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're sitting in that seat, you got to communicate with everybody. Okay? So that's my word. That's my deal. I'll see you on the next show. Take care. Bruce here.